Hi, next I want to share with you a story called As the Cookie Crumbles. This took place at the nursing home where my mom lives. And it was a simple day on a picnic out in front of the waterfall with everyone. And my mom was there, and my husband, and my daughter, and lots of residents and staff hustling and bustling all over. I was busy running around taking photographs of everybody, and my daughter and my husband Tom were entertaining Grandma and talking with her and engaging her. And I tell this story because it has such poignant facts of how someone can shift. And the little things that we do that we're not aware of, how upsetting they can be to people. So this is what happened that day. My daughter Danielle is talking with Grandma, and she's holding her hand, and they're laughing, and they're having a good time. And the staff came around and asked Grandma if she wanted, something to eat, and Grandma really wasn't hungry. My daughter was getting a little upset because she knew this was a new phase for my mom to not want picnic food. My mom always loved a good picnic. But she didn't want a hamburger, and she didn't want a hot dog, and she didn't want the watermelon, and she didn't want the potato salad. But then a cookie came out, and Grandma finally said she'd have a cookie. So while I'm off running around taking pictures, really not paying attention, all of a sudden, things were calm and joyful throughout the whole area, and all of a sudden I hear this screaming. And as I hear this screaming, my daughter, who's like 19 at the time, comes running towards me. And her lip is quivering and her eyes are filled with tears. And she said, "Mom, Grandma hates me. She just hates me. She screamed it for everyone to hear. Grandma hates me, Mom." She said, "I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did." Now, my mom and my daughter have been like this all of my daughter's life. They have been so close. And Danielle has never seen my mom blow up. And my mom just blew. So I grabbed my daughter Danielle and I gave her a big hug and I said, "Honey, tell me what really happened." Well, my 19-year-old looked at me with, kind of heat in her eyes, flashing the fire at me, going, "I told you, I just picked up a cookie, Mom. Grandma was eating a cookie and a cookie fell on her chest. That's all that happened." And I said, "Danielle, we need to break that down. It's not that I don't believe you, but we need to look at more than just you picking up a cookie. What were you doing with Grandma before she started eating the cookie?" And my daughter thought for a moment. She said, "Well, we were talking and laughing and having a good time like we always do, Mom." I said, "What else were you doing?" She said, "Well, I was holding her hand while we were talking and laughing." I said, "Danielle, were you looking at Grandma?" She said, "Well, yeah, I always look at somebody when I'm talking to them." And I said, "What happened when you went to pick up the cookie?" And she said, "Well, there was a break in the conversation, so I thought it'd be a good time to pick up this chunk of cookie sitting on Grandma's chest." And I said, "Okay, when you went to pick up the cookie, were you still talking to Grandma or did conversation end?" Well, no, Mom, I told you there was a break in the conversation." I said, "Okay, so you weren't talking to Grandma anymore." I said, "Were you still holding Grandma's hand?" Well, no, I kind of had to step around her wheelchair. She's in that big lounger wheelchair, and I needed to be able to get the cookie. So, no, I let go of her hand. And I said, "When you went to pick up the cookie, Danielle, were you looking in Grandma's eyes anymore?" And my daughter said, "Well, of course I wasn't looking in Grandma's eyes. I was looking at her chest at the cookie that I was picking up." And I said, "Honey, you lost 3 powerful connections with Grandma. You weren't talking, you weren't touching, and you no longer had eye contact. And then you reached in and you touched her in an inappropriate spot. She had no idea who you were or that there was cookie on her chest. That's why she got mad. That's why she blew up. I said, let's go over and talk to Grandma again. Now, the one thing you have to keep in mind with my mom is she can hold a grudge. So as we walked over to my mom's face is beet red and angry, and her arms are crossed, and she's in her wheelchair, madder than a wet hen. It's amazing with Alzheimer's what they can remember sometimes. So I told Danielle I just wanted her to watch me. So she stepped over to the side, and I leaned down to my mom who was in her wheelchair. And I said, just like this, with my arms crossed, imitating my mom, in a gruff voice, because I knew she was angry. And I said, "What's this I hear you don't like Danielle?" And my mom looked at me with a mean scowl on her face, and she said, "That's right, I don't like that Danielle. I don't like her." And then I leaned back down again, and I looked at my mom in the eyes, and I said, "I know you don't like that Danielle. You love that Danielle." And my mom looked back at me with her arms still crossed, and in this tone said, "I don't like that Danielle. I love that Danielle." And then she smiled. And what happened there, as I look over at my daughter, she's realizing Grandma doesn't hate her anymore, and that none of the conversation and the tone of voice and the words that were used between my mom and I really made any sense. But it was all about the connection. It was about the tone. My mom was mimicking my tone. And that happens a lot. They take their read from us, and we also have to read them. We take our connections, our multi-sensory connections, so for granted these days. And as somebody declines, if it's Alzheimer's disease or another illness, we have to pay more attention. We have to warn them. We have to be connected with them. So it's not just a matter of talking and doing a task. We have to hold their hand. We have to look in their eyes. We have to engage in conversation to not scare them when we do a little thing like pick up a cookie. Because all it takes is a millisecond of them losing that connection with us, and it stages fear to them. Who's touching me? Why are they touching me? Who are they? That doesn't feel good. It's like with a small child. We talk about good touch, bad touch. We have to realize that happens here too. They've forgotten, and we must remember.